while y'all are turning, we're having burgers after church tonight. We had plenty of food left over from Harvest. Y'all stick around for that. If y'all would, please remember, pray for Allie. She's run about 103.5. The doctor said that she didn't have a flu, so we're glad about that. We still know what it is, so I'll just pray for her. We're preaching just a 2 minutes series on after death. What? Preached on a place called hell for the lost man this morning. I want to preach about the place called heaven. If you're willing and able to stand, Luke 16 will read part of the same passage we read this morning. It says, there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. There was a certain beggar named Lazarus which was laid at his gate full of sores, desiring to be fed with crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. Let's pray. Lord God, we thank you for your word. God, we thank you for good folks here, Lord. I pray that you bless each and every need that might have. Lift up those that may be sick and couldn't have been here, God, or maybe those that chose not to come. God, I pray that you help them, Lord. God, we do lift up Brother Ryan in particular, Lord, here this time, that you would just grant him grace and wisdom to help in this time of need, Lord. Pray that you be with us tonight. God, bless the message. God, I pray that speak to our heart, Lord. I pray that you bless that fellowship after the Lord. We give these things to you, God. In Christ's name, pray. Amen. Tonight, I'm trying to look at a good bit of Scripture because I want you to be able to see with your own eyes what we're talking about. You know, I find it kind of ironic that the Bible really doesn't say a whole lot about heaven. I imagine if you combine all of the sayings about heaven, all the teachings about heaven, it would probably be less than 2 average chapters in the Bible, all put together. And I believe the reason for that is found in 1 Corinthians 2 and verse 9. It says that I had not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath it entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those that love him. That simply says that you could go sit down somewhere and you could think of the best possible heaven you could possibly imagine. And it's going to be even better than that. It's not, there's nothing on this earth that we've seen or heard that can even compare to heaven. We have nothing to even compare it with. It's not even entered in the heart of man. It's better than any of our imaginations. And so it really is not going to do God a whole lot of good to try to explain it to us because we don't have a mind to understand it. I mean, it's just that simple. It's that good. It's so good that God just tells us just enough to where we can kind of get a mental picture of it. But there's really not a whole lot in it. And I mentioned this morning that Jesus mentioned hell twice as much as he mentioned heaven. Partially because he didn't want people to go to hell, but partially because heaven's so good, we couldn't understand it and explain it to us anyway. It'd be like us reading Greek. It's just so far beyond our wildest imagination. And I believe that's why there's not a whole lot about it. In fact, tonight, in this short sermon, everything that you read, everything we're going to read tonight, is probably about 95% of all that's said about heaven and Bible. So you'll know that you've learned a little something about heaven tonight because we're really going to go through just about all of it. So what do we driving down the road the other day, said, Dad, where's heaven at? I said, well, son, it's out above the sky. Of course, he kept asking more detailed questions and more detailed. Well, they'll keep you on your toes. And I know that this may seem like useless information, but it is a good question to know. Where is heaven? Because there is a lot of confusion about that in the Bible, and I want to clarify this just so you'll know. The Old Testament paradise and the New Testament heaven is in two different places. It's just like I told you this morning that hell and the lake of fire were two different things. Hell was a temporary holding place for the judgment, and then the judgment they would be cast into the lake of fire. Well, the Old Testament paradise here in Luke 16 is, and I say Old Testament because even though Luke is in the New Testament, Jesus hasn't died. So it's before essentially the New Testament has taken place. And I'm going to show you this. Now, in the Old Testament paradise, here in Luke 16, both paradise and hell are in the center of the earth. They've got a great gulf between the two of them, but you can see across to the side. That's how Abraham and the rich man were able to communicate. They were hollering at each other from across the gulf between paradise and hell. Now, let's go to Matthew 27 real quick. Like I said, we're going to go a few places tonight, but I want to take my time, especially since we really don't have a whole lot to cover about heaven. Matthew 27. Now, the Old Testament paradise was in the earth, but the New Testament heaven, the one that the saved folks today, the God they go to, that heaven is up above the universe. In fact, if you want to go back and study sometime, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, it calls it the third heaven. And in the Bible, the first heaven is the area under the clouds. It's basically all around the first heaven. The second heaven is above the cloud, the universe, the stars, all that, the middle, all that's the second heaven. The third heaven is the place where God dwells. And it's even further than that. I couldn't even be honest with you. I couldn't give you a map and show you where it's at. But it's there. But it refers to it as the third heaven. So here's a question. Why did it move? I like this. As I'm going to show you this first. Now listen to this. In the Old Testament, people were saved by faith, just like we are today. I know they sacrificed animals. I know they did rituals. I know they did a lot of weird stuff. But those were acts of faith. They were acting in obedience to God because of their faith. And they had faith in the coming Messiah. We have faith in the Messiah that's already come. But here's the difference. Now, by their faith, their sins were put on Jesus' tab, so to speak. But when they died, he hadn't come to pay the tab for them yet. So they couldn't be allowed into heaven. But God allowed them into paradise. He forgave them their sins. And they waited there in the earth, in paradise, in comfort, where Lazarus was, until Jesus could come and pay the tab for them. Now, look at what happened when Jesus rose from the grave. And when he died on the cross, really, Matthew 27, verse 51, it says, Behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now, this is another reason why it amazes me that anybody wouldn't believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because not only did he get up, but all the Old Testament saints that were in paradise, they got up with him. I'm talking about Jesus walked around for 40 days on this earth, and he's got Moses, he's got Joseph, he's got Noah, all these folks are walking around Jerusalem for 40 days, and then when Jesus ascended to the Father, they went with him. That's why when we die, when say folks die today, they go up, they don't go down. But they had those Old Testament saints, they had to wait for Jesus to come pay the tab for them. And so I just wanted you to know that. It's not going to make a difference between heaven and hell, but it's also important to know Jesus has paid our penalty. When we die as saved folks, we go straight to heaven, and see, that really does make a difference, because celebration they had when Jesus died on the cross and showed up down there? Remember he told the thief he's going to be in paradise with him that day? Yeah. That's where he was going. He was going to get him. That's just like the rapture. He's coming to get us one day. Boy, that's going to be a good time, isn't it? Can you imagine the celebration they had down there? They've been waiting all the years to get out of there, and here he shows up, and they know in just a few days they're fixing to pop up out of the grave. We see the location of heaven. Paul said in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 8, he was talking about this earthly tabernacle, this body was all, and the spirit being released, and he said to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. The second that a saint of God takes her last breath, they're in the presence of the Lord. And one thing I like about the story of Lazarus, the Bible says he was carried, the rich man was buried. Angels literally came to take him away. And I've never personally been by the bedside of a saint that went to be the Lord, but I talked to several folks that felt the presence of God in that room when they lived. So God was coming to take them. We see the location of heaven. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, but it wasn't always like that. It is now, thank God. He's paid the tax. He's paid our sin debt. But not only do we see the location, but we see the luxuries of heaven. You don't have to turn here to John 14, 1 and 2. Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place. We see the luxuries of heaven. And we get a better insight to this, and you can turn here. Revelation chapter 21. Revelation 21 and 22 are the most descriptive chapters of heaven in all time. And I find it interesting, it just so happens to be the last two chapters of the book. You know why? It's because we win. Amen. This is the grand finale, amen. Hallelujah. Revelation 21, this is the luxuries of heaven. Verse 1, it says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write for those these words of faith, or true of faith. So we see the luxuries of heaven. And if God said that he made all things new. That means they're going to be different than they are down here. The old things are passed away. This is all new. We cry down here. We shed tears down here. It ain't going to happen like that up there. We're going to have none of that up there. We have death down here. We have parting down here. But it ain't going to happen like that up there. There is no more parting up there. Does anybody have the saved loved ones gone on to be with the Lord already? Even as I study the sermon, even as I preach it, I can't help it, but I know it's not to do it justice, but I just try to put myself in their shoes. I try to imagine what they're seeing, what they're doing, who they're talking with. And it's really a humbling thought. That ought to encourage us. That ought to let us know that one day everything's going to be made right, and everything's going to be okay. We're going to be reunited within one day. I know probably many of you had relatives that were really sick before they passed away. They may not have even looked like they used to. But I guarantee you they're going to look a lot different than the last time you saw them. You know that? Amen. Friend, it's going to be good. And I've said this before, but in my sanctified imagination, I try to wonder if God, He knows when we're going to die. He knows our appointed time. And He knows when He's coming to get us. I wonder if He rounds all of our loved ones up to meet us at the gate. Or I wonder if He lets it be a surprise and we just get to go around from mansion to mansion, seeing Him again for the first time in years, friend. We have death down here, but it ain't like that up there. He said, behold, I make all things new. He said, neither sorrow. We have sorrow down here. I know it's I can't hardly remember a time in my life where I didn't at least have one sorrow somewhere. It just kind of follows you around, doesn't it? But up there, it ain't like that. In heaven, we're not going to have one bad day. Not one bad day. No pain, no sorrow. Friend, we can't even imagine that. There's some of you could probably used to run and jump with the best of them. Now you do good just to get out of bed. Amen. It ain't going to be like that over there. I'm going to have trouble keeping up with Miss Virginia. She's going to be shouting and running so fast. Amen. And she won't have that cane to beat me with anymore. Amen. That's right. There's no more sorrow over there, nor crying. Neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things have passed away. Our sorrows and our troubles, they seem so big to us right now. And there's so many things that we don't understand because we can't see things from God's point of view. But I really think when we get up there and we get our first glimpse of everything from His point of view, I think the first thing we're going to say is, oh, it's going to make sense to us. We'll understand it all by and by. We'll know. We'll know that He was right when we get to the luxuries of heaven. The former things are passed away because He's made all things new. But not only the luxuries of heaven, but we see the layout of heaven. What does heaven look like? When we get there, what can we expect? What does it look like? Look at Revelation 20, verse 10. And He carried me away in the Spirit to a great high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a great wall, and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates were 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles. And I'm going to stop right there. Talk about, I've shared a few afterlife experiences that I've read about or heard about. When somebody lost, died and supposedly went to hell and experienced things and saw things, and just confirms what the Bible says. But I have seen or heard of a few afterlife experiences, folks, that were saved. And one of them, Miss Vicky's dad, whenever he passed away, he was clinically dead on the bed. He was gone. And he sat up in the bed and said, man, wouldn't you like to have a house like that? What a foundation. And then right here it talks about the 12 foundations of the city. It says, verse 15, He that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. And the city lieth 4 square, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs, the length and the breadth and the height are equal. And he measured the wall thereof 140 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the ankle. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city that were garnished